What's this little guy's story?
This little guy is called EQ, and he and his brother, who is now 6 months of age, they were an emergency placement. The father is in jail, so they're not orphans. All the rest of our kids are orphans, but this little fella came to us because his mother was just at the end of her tether, and a church, the local First Church in Chiang Mai, asked if we could take these kids while the mother was trained to be able to get some work. So they've been placed into care for 3 years, but we do actually have contact with the mother every now and again as well. But the rest of the kids have no parents. They're kids from the government orphanage. We particularly take in kids that have some sort of developmental delay or physical disability or health issues. The earlier the better, because I'm a paediatric physical therapist and I want to see if we can make them adoptable rather than stay in the orphanage, to help them to get to a point where they can be adopted and families of their own. Just recently had 3 kids, 3 little girls in the last 3 months go overseas. So our numbers are a bit reduced at the moment, but I believe this week we're getting 1 more little girl. One day this week.
Well, I understand these kids basically go home and spend time at home at night with the different families around.
Kingdom kids, once we had 4 kids of our own, we realised that we had to do something else if we wanted to help more kids. So I started training Thai foster mums in how to look after the kids and how to play with their kids, how to stimulate the kids, how to do therapy with the kids. And then gradually we transitioned the kids that we had at the time into their home. I was monitoring them on a daily basis and just making sure that kids were developing and there were no problems. That transition went very well, and then we took in more kids, and so Terry and I have now become basically the intake, where kids first come, spend time with us when I'm happy with their health, their therapy issues, when they're sleeping through the night, which is very important for our Thai carers. Once they're sleeping through the night, we then do a gradual transition into one of my carers' families, the foster families. And all of these families live within a few hundred yards of our own home. A couple of them have their own kids as well, and they have taken our kids into their family. At the moment, the most they have is 3 of our kids in their family, but as these kids grow up, then they're able to take in more little ones. The maximum that any of the families would ever have would be 6 kids, and we want them to be treated as their own kids. We rent a house for them and we pay their wages. We also give a food allowance for each of the kids that stay with them, because we want them to eat more protein than probably they would in a normal Thai family. And the kids, once they reach 2, they do come to our morning toddler group, play group, so that in Thai society, kids actually have to go to school at 2. And I don't want our kids to go to a Thai school, so this is the alternative that we've provided, so that they are bilingual, they understand English, that they do go to foster adopted families, but also they're actually getting a better education. So they come for 2 hours in the morning, and then they go home. The little ladies go home to their own foster families for their afternoon for lunch and for their afternoon snooze, and then they just stay in the family for the rest of the day. The kids that have reached the age of 4, reluctantly I have sent them to morning Thai school or kindergarten, and because they haven't been adopted yet and they could be long-termers, so they actually have to have some sort of Thai input in schooling as well to be accepted into higher grades. Those kids come back for 1 to 3. We have lessons for them in English and Thai, but trying to push the English between 1 and 3. So we do have contact with all of our kids on a very, very regular basis. The problem that we are now finding is, as the kids get older, we've talked to the teachers and they've said, we actually don't want to take kids with special needs. We cannot handle kids with special needs. So I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to accept more kids. And so now the project that is exciting us at the moment is, what happens to them next? How can we maintain schooling for these kids? And we're looking at establishing a small homeschool type school for kids with special needs. And we'll show you the plans and what we've got for that in the future as well. This little fella's called Ty. Say hello. Say hello. He's 3 years old. Yeah, he's a camper. And who's that? Is that Sam? He came to us just before his 2nd birthday. At that stage he weighed 5 kilograms.
Which is about in pounds.
12 pounds, is that right?
2.2, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be about 12 pounds.
About 12 pounds. He had been born at 26 weeks, very tiny, and I haven't been given a lot of history, but I think he went home and the family weren't taught how to feed him. His mother was an alcoholic, and so it was completely out of the picture. So he was raised by his 9-year-old brother, who didn't know how to feed a premature baby. He had no suck reflex, so he couldn't suck from a bottle, and he was drip fed water from cooked rice. So that's how he lived for 2 years, mainly cared for by a 9-year-old brother, and I think he must have been in a very dark place, because when he came to us, he didn't like sunlight, he couldn't handle lots of stimulation, he had huge feeding issues, to the point, because the feeding is such an emotional issue, he had associated force feeding with bad things, and so food became an emotionally bad thing. So he would vomit even at the sight of food. So if I'd say to him, bring some watermelon out, and all the kids were eating watermelon, I'd say, would you like some? He would look at it and vomit. So feeding him was a huge, huge problem. He could have a bottle, but he would just chew, bite, bite, bite until the milk came out. And so that's how he survived. But then I had to start him on a baby cereal, and he had such a strong gag reflex that I had to be very, very careful and train him how to move the food in his mouth, so that he could begin to put on weight. He's now 3, because the muscles associated with sucking from right at birth have not been used properly. He can't coordinate the muscles to speak. So now he is a very bright little fellow, mimics every sound that you want him to make, but has difficulty forming the words. So I've just started him on some communication boards, and he's learning how to communicate by pointing at things that make noises and pointing at pictures to express some of his needs. But he wins everybody's hearts. I've had so many people come and say, I'd like to adopt this fellow, because he has such a huge sense of humour. Great sense of humour. Haven't you? Want to do round and round the garden? You want that one? Round and round the garden, teddy bear. Want it? Do that?
So here was a pond once.
Was?
It was
Like the one behind you, like that.
like that, but not that big. It was only sort of trees there, and we've just filled it in the last month or so. And over there was like a swamp. About 3 years ago, we filled that in, so that's ready to build on. This we have to wait a year or so before we can build on that, but that's okay. That's the time frame we've got. So next year we hope to start building over there some accommodation blocks for foster families and for short-term teams to come and visit and have somewhere to stay. And then when this is settled, probably the end of next year, we can start building here, and we want to build a special needs preschool and primary school for the kids. The local school won't take the special needs kids. our neighbours over where we're living have complained about the noise. So we have to move somewhere where the kids can make a noise.
Sure.
So that's why we're doing this. So we're quite excited about this. We're not quite finished on the levelling. We want to add a bit more dirt through the centre there to make it a full block, and a bit more on that side. And then on this side here, we'll bring the pig compost and grow vegetables this wet season. And the same over there, but next year we'll start building there and then move to this.
So the building and all, is it done by missionary or human labor?
It's done by anyone who God sends along
Okay,
with the money that they bring,
sure.
because we haven't got any of either.
All right.
We've really...
Hear that?
Sorry, but that's usually how it is. God has blessed us with money to be able to do this work.
Absolutely.
And this has cost a fair bit to bring dirt back in. And next year we're praying that he blesses us again to be able to start the building and continue the building till it's finished.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and it's not a cheap exercise. You don't just build a building, you have to then equip it
Sure.
with therapy equipment, school equipment.
Right.
You have to do things like put a fence around it all and set up the yards for kids to be able to play and run free and not fall into the pond and drown.
So how this project, how long do you think it's going to take from beginning to end?
Well, that
to
depends
build-
on finances. If we've got the money, it might take a year to 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on how God brings in the finances. We have a gentleman who has said he will give some money, but he hasn't said how much and how often. So we're just praying that God he honours that. But that's still not enough, so we need others to give as well. So sorry if it sounds like give, we want, but
That's a need.
So who would we send money to if
to
people
Pioneers in Australia.
in Australia?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you can send it direct to us if you want to, or Pioneers. Where are you from? United States?
Yeah.
You can send it to Pioneers in the United States and mark it for Kingdom Kids.
Oh, Kingdom Kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we need.
Robyn and I have an account with Pioneers in Orlando, but I don't think Kingdom Kids have. So we might have to set that one up somehow.
So are there people already donating to Kingdom Kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have Pioneers has a separate, about 3 different accounts in Melbourne for Kingdom Kids. There's a building fund, there's a project fund, there's just a general giving fund for Kingdom Kids. And it's a tax deduction in
Sure.
Australia.
Yeah. Oh, in America too.
In the United States it would be too, if you give it to Pioneers, yeah. So if you give it to Pioneers in Orlando and mark it for Kingdom Kids, they'll sort it out.
Is that right? Any other questions?
Do you think of any questions, Pam or Jeff?
What would you like? I know your facilities are adequate. Are you looking to improve those? Do you have plans?
We have plans for the future. As I said before, these kids, many of them will not be accepted into normal school. So because we would love to start a homeschool and build our own facility for that. We've had some neighbours saying, oh, the kids are crying, and it is very untie to allow a child to cry, so time out is something that is really annoying. So we've had complaints from the neighbours saying, you know, when are you going to move out? And so that's really given us impetus to say it would be great if we could build our own facility that's away from everybody as well. A very simple request at the moment is, we've got a new family, we probably need another sidecar, a motorbike with a sidecar. We try and give them means of being a family and going out together as a family. But if they've got more than 2 kids, then it's hard for them to go anywhere without a sidecar on their motorbike. Yeah, you're a show off, aren't you? You're just a show off. Yes. Say bye. Bye. Say bye to the camera. Bye. Can you say bye? You say it. Love kiss. Mwah. 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 Bye. Can you say bye-bye? No, you're not going to say it. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Robyn, very much.
Thank you.
He just now.